Today I'm going to be taking a look at your most controversial hot takes about the animated world. I recently asked you all what your hot takes are about characters, movies, shows, scenes, everything about the animated world. What is something that you just have to be different about? What is something that you hate? What is something that you love? We're going to be tackling all of those opinions, all of those thoughts today, and seeing, are they actually worth it? Are they good opinions? Do I agree with them? Or are they shit, belong in a dumpster fire, and I hate them and I would never agree with you? That's what we're going to be trying to do today, because God knows the internet loves responding to different opinions and negativity. I could bake you a fresh sheet of cookies, you would take that, go to the Florida Everglades, feed it to a double thicked up crocodile, and have the crocodile come back and eat me. That is just what would happen. The internet loves it when everybody is different and negative, so we're going to be taking a look at those hot takes that are just trying to be so extra and so different, and seeing if I agree or disagree with them. If you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload every single day. We're almost at 50k. If you'd like to have your own hot take featured in the next video just like this, please make sure to like the video and comment. 500 likes on this video for a part 2. Let's finally take a look at your controversial animated hot takes. The 2011 movie Rango is easily the worst movie I've ever seen, and the only movie to this day I've had to walk out of because it was so bad. Mind you, I was a kid when I saw this movie. That's honestly a really crazy take, because I think Rango is easily one of the greatest animated films ever made. It's so odd that you would pinpoint specifically Rango when there's so much slop, so much shit out there, when this is clearly a movie made with so much passion. The only thing that I dislike about Rango is Rango's character design with his neck, where it's like popping out. I know that kind of is iconic in a way, but it really makes me just want to grab it and just be like, I can't do this anymore, and just like shove it back into place. That would be nice, but everything else about that movie is really good. In a area that is just so oversaturated, that being Western films, there's a million different Western films out there, all tackling similar concepts. Rango is very unique. One, because it's animated in a very unique way, but it also tackles some very interesting things, like a bunch of critters living out in the desert who are struggling to have any water, and they're going to die if they don't get water. Their bank is literally made of water, so they're robbing people over water instead of money. It's an interesting concept, and all the stuff that they do with the animals is unique, like the mole people. All of that stuff is a lot of fun. The snake brother actually being real and coming back and having an ultimate final battle against Rango. It is just overall a really good animated film, but also a good Western. I don't know what kid you was thinking. Maybe it was just like, God damn it, they're not riding any horses in this Western movie. I can't do it. Rango's neck is assaulting me. Like, I can't actually find any flaws with this movie. Yes, it's a little bit controversial, but I think it's a really good animated film. Adventure Time is really boring. I personally don't get this hot take. I got a lot of requests saying Adventure Time is overrated, Adventure Time is boring, and I don't know, it just always feels like it's people who never truly sat down and watched it, because if you were growing up in my era being Adventure Time, Regular Show, Gumball, those were the big three, and all of them were equally as entertaining. I would always watch Regular Show and Gumball mainly for the comedy. Regular Show was more relatable in a sense, not really to what was going on, but it had a down-to-earth nature for like the first 8 minutes, and then it would just be complete utter chaos that would just keep you so enveloped in what was going on. And then Adventure Time was always that show compared to the others that I would watch for a truly great story. The first few seasons is just nonchalant fun. They're going and doing all this silly stuff, and then once you get to season 4, it just becomes a really good story with honestly amazing character development, great fights. All of this stuff is just building to one big ending, and there's so much to it. I honestly love watching Adventure Time for the plot, for the story, but if you want some slice of life nature to it, it is also very good. So I don't think Adventure Time is boring. I could see why people would dislike it, but I think it's got just this entire world of very unique characters, a very unique premise, and just so much lore to it that I can never find myself being bored of it. The lore of Dragon Ball Z is a convoluted mess. I honestly disagree with this. They were writing the story as they were going, so you have to cut them a little bit of slack. It's not like they knew exactly where the end point was. They didn't know what they were doing. Take the Cell arc, for example, where 17 and 18 were initially supposed to be the main villains, and Toriyama's editor didn't think they were scary enough, so he came up with the idea of Cell. And honestly, like, all the lore, all the backstory, it's pretty fleshed out as to what's going on. Goku lands on Earth as a baby, lives his entire life, fights Piccolo, does the world tournaments, fights the Red Ribbon Army, all that stuff. It's revealed he's a Saiyan, and then we get a bunch of exposition, a bunch of backstory through Raditz, through Vegeta. Everything is explained there. He goes to Namek. I don't really know what you're missing out lore and continuity-wise. The only things that are later added in that are a little bit weird is Red Ribbon survives, and that kind of makes sense, and that adds, you know, a deep plot as to what's going on. Frieza blew up Planet Vegeta. There's so many different things to it, but you also have to take into consideration there's like 600 episodes like of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. It's a really big story, and sometimes when you want to tell a story, you gotta add some things in, and I feel like Toriyama did a good job explaining the majority of things and how things work, so you gotta give him some liberties. It's a show that was continuous, that they weren't initially planning, and honestly, as a major Dragon Ball fan, there's nothing that confuses me. I understand everything, and I don't question anything, besides maybe a couple of transformations. Not every single animator will be guaranteed a cushy job with a studio or a company, and will be seen as old-fashioned when they can't adapt to upcoming tools in the industry due to beliefs that are untrue. See AI. AI is a tool meant to work with animators, not act as a be-all, end-all for the animators themselves. If these people actually believe that, then they should be very weary, for their jobs are definitely at risk, for they clearly aren't doing their jobs in the first place. Didn't anyone else notice if you put a Gen Alpha kid in front of a show from the 1990s or early 2000s pre-CGI where the animation was hand-drawn, the kids will stop and actually watch the shows. Doubt anyone has done that and paid attention. Try it with classics like 1980s Saturday morning cartoons like Heathcliff or Garfield and Friends. See the results and you might be surprised. I don't necessarily know what you're trying to get at here. You're saying that animators should just accept the fact that AI is going to be in their industry and try to work with it, but I feel like you're not thinking of companies in a sense, because companies will definitely cut out the animator themselves and the worker themselves just to prioritize money. A lot of people these days, they think, well, you know, if they just learn to work with the AI and use it as a tool, it's all going to turn out just dandy. Well, what happens when AI gets good enough to where you don't need the middleman, you don't need anybody to help you, you literally just need one guy to type in something and you will get the same result. Obviously, there's going to be new jobs where you have to run the AI and tell the AI what to do, but eventually, AI will become so good in around 10 years, unless that AI bubble pops and it's all fake, where you just don't need the animator anymore. And big companies, regardless of pushback, regardless of anything, if they could pump out a fucking movie for $6,000 compared to spending $3 million paying hundreds of salaries to get this shit done in way more time, they're going to obviously choose the cheaper option because it's just overall going to make them more money, and eventually there won't need to be animators. You say that it won't be the be-all, end-all? When big companies don't need you anymore, they don't care about you. They don't care that, oh, this person's not going to have a job. That doesn't speak for every single company, but overall, the better AI gets, the less they will need you, the less people they will need, and you will lose your job. That's a very interesting take on it. Obviously, now you could use it as a tool to help with what you're working on, but eventually it will become better than you. It is plagiarism, but it will become better than you, and it sucks. And I think overall supporting it right now and supporting it going into this field is taking away the humanity out of a lot of art, out of a lot of animation, and I think we should just keep it out. That is my personal opinion. I am very worried for the future of art and movies and media if we keep just allowing and having this ideology that AI is going to be a tool, because we know damn well that companies do not view it as that. They do see it as the be-all, end-all, because they're going to pump as much money into it as possible to try to make sure that it is good enough to eventually replace the common worker and save as much money as possible. That's just the way it is. I actively hate Nightmare Before Christmas. It has excellent animation, but that's it in my opinion. The movie's only redeeming quality. That is a baffling take. Who hurt you? Who hurt you on Halloween? Did somebody get you? Somebody touch you on Halloween and say, oh, Nightmare Before Christmas is a shit movie. You know, like jump scaring you, just making you shit your pants, because it's unbelievably good. The story is really good about Jack trying to re-find his love for Halloween through exploring Christmas. I think it is overall one of the most interesting and unique stories ever told in animation. The songs are on point, and yes, as you said, the animation is incredible. It is a very unique, well-told story. I don't see how you could actively hate it. I'm not shitting fully on your opinion. I just genuinely think it's one of the best animated films of all time. It's just wild that you could hate Nightmare Before Christmas. Like what? What did you not like about it? It's Santa gets kidnapped and they sing silly songs about it. Kidnap the Santa Claus, tie him in a bag. You know, like, come on. Like, just have a little whimsy in your life. Man, these are getting a little bit spicy. I absolutely hated Into the Spider-Verse. I remember seeing it a year or two after it came out and absolutely hated it. That's still, again, unbelievably wild. The animation is some of the best in the industry. It's so cool how they just adapt like a comic book feeling, like you're actually reading a comic, but it's actually just going in real life. The story was really good. Miles Morales is a great character. Everything that's going on was a lot of fun. It's unique. It adds to the Spider-Man. I think it's debatably a lot better than the live-action Spider-Mans. It's better than any of the Tom Holland movies. It's better than the Andrew Garfield movies. Tobey's movies are unbelievably good, especially the first and the second one. So I don't know if it's better than those, but animation wise, it is incredible what they were able to do. And I just am continuously waiting for the third one in the trilogy. I think it's so good. This is baffling. The Simpsons, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, Rick and Morty, and American Dad should end because they've gone on for way too long. This is something that I definitely agree with, especially taking a look at The Simpsons, Family Guy, and American Dad here. I think Bob's Burgers is still pretty decent. I mean, I just watched it for the very first time, but I think it has a lot more of a natural, like, down-to-earth vibe to it, and it could still be very good. But either way, The Simpsons has been going on for 36 seasons. That is a very long time, and it is no secret that it is nowhere near how good it used to be, and they've just told so many stories that eventually it just feels like the same old shit. Marge, take me back, Marge, I put my dick in a cactus, Marge, and the cactus turned out to be real, Marge, forgive me, Marge, I'm leaving you, homie. You know, it's just the same unbelievable shit over and over and over again, and you just have to wonder, the writers and animators on the show, could they do something better? They have a steady job that is going to probably go on forever, but maybe some of them never take the chance to go and pitch the show they've always wanted to pitch, a show that will become so unbelievably iconic, but they never take the chance on it. I think just having these shows go on for so long, way past their prime, is not only hurting the series as a whole because you now have this negative outlook on some parts of the series, it just is a waste of time for a lot of writers and animators who could potentially add something a lot more to society and make something really, really good. Rick and Morty in this case, I feel like it does still have some life. It's definitely not as good as it used to be, and if it keeps going on this track, then yeah, it should also be taken away. But I just agree that shows that are running for this long, just when you could tell it's past their prime, maybe it's time to just put them to rest unless they're topical. Like take South Park, for example. South Park stays relevant with what's going on in the world, and they have just up-to-date episodes like the Labubu episode during the Labubu craze. Like, you don't get stuff like that with these other shows that take so long to make that it's just not worth it to keep them running, especially when, you know, like 70% of the audience just looks at it and rolls their eyes and is like, whoa, wow, this isn't as good as it used to be, that's for sure. SpongeBob is a very good cartoon even now, and the modern seasons are overhated. See, that's not the problem. I'm sure that there's a lot of good episodes in modern SpongeBob, ones that could give you a good chuckle, a good laugh, and you could have a good time. I'm sure even a lot of the episodes are pretty decent. The problem is how good the first 3 seasons were. The first 3 seasons are genuinely some of the funniest stuff that I've ever seen. I could quote it daily. I could love it daily. It's nostalgic, yet it's still funny. I could sit down and I could laugh at every single episode in the first 3 seasons. The jokes are on point. The characters are on point. The characters don't feel like they regressed. I love watching the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, so as the series goes on, if you watch some of those episodes, you genuinely begin to question, what the hell am I watching? Because it doesn't feel anywhere near the same. Every character is more stupid. Every character wants to harass Squidward. Every character doesn't feel like how they used to feel when Steven Hillenburg was at the helm, making the show what it is today, making the show as iconic as it was. Those first 3 seasons up to the movie and a little bit after is just peak television, probably the greatest cartoon ever made, and is something that I could go back to and I could always laugh at because of how unbelievably brilliant it was, which makes modern SpongeBob look worse. The earlier seasons are so much better, so even if the new stuff is good, there's no way it's as good as the greatest cartoon of all time, which is the earlier seasons of SpongeBob. The only reason people cared about the Fionna and Cake series was because of Simon, and after his story wrapped up, you didn't hear a peep about the second season, if it didn't have anything to do with Finn. Fionna and Cake are not strong enough characters to carry a show. They were a funny gimmick from over 10 years ago. I I actually pretty much agree with this. The very first season of Fionna and Cake, I actually hated Fionna and Cake. I thought they were horrible characters. I thought they were annoying, and I was really only watching it for Simon because his story and his arc within the first season of Fionna and Cake was absolutely brilliant. I loved everything that was going on with that, all of the stuff with Betty, all of the stuff with the lore, his conversation with Betty, eventually getting to watch the Lich die. Everything that was going on with Simon was really cool. And then you have Fionna and Cake bickering because they have their first argument as being friends, and Fionna was trying to do things to keep everybody happy, but it went so wrong and they have to argue, and it just sucks. And then you go into Fionna and Cake season 2, which I absolutely despise because of the pacing. It was so unbelievably slow the entire time I was watching it. It was so hard when Finn is literally dying and we decide to focus on Fionna wanting to be with DJ Flame, and that's literally, it takes you so out of it when you're just hoping and praying that Huntress Wizard is going to do something interesting this episode, and then Fiona's like, oh gosh, I kissed DJ Flame in front of Fennel, oh gosh. It's just a trash romance that wasn't that interesting. When there's way more crazy stuff going on, it was just so hard to watch Fionna and Cake season 2. I thought Cake's character got way better in season 2, but Fionna is still pretty much insufferable. Even though I started to like her at the end of season 1, they just tanked her character in every way and just decided to focus on the worst possible aspects of the show. So I'm looking forward to season 3 and hope that it goes in the right direction, but I need some pacing changes and I need some developments for Fionna and for Cake to actually stick and not just create needless drama for me to actually like the show, because without Simon, they're just not interesting enough. Rick and Morty is so fucking overrated. The first 2 seasons were fun, but now it feels like a clutterfuck of sci-fi slop some AI makes. I wouldn't say it's AI slop, but I see what you're saying. The first 3 seasons I really enjoy. After that, it kind of falls off a little bit, especially with incest babies being made, or Beth and Beth kissing each other and having dirty, stinky Beth sex with each other, which I guarantee you the only people who are okay with that are just like, dude, I gotta watch Beth and Beth make out with each other, and it's so deep for their characters because they're learning to love themselves, and they're traumatized, so it's healing for them to have sex and then have Jerry turn into a centipede and watch his 2 wives do the nasty. I don't know, it's just really weird and it's convoluted. Rick is very cynical all the time, and he has been cynical throughout the entire series, but I feel like he's lost a lot of his whimsy, and it's literally just fucking rant about the world constantly. And when they can't come up with a unique joke anymore, it's just, dude, remember when you liked meta jokes? And then they just do a meta joke and just subvert that for comedy. And I just think it's a lot less interesting than it used to be. The plot lines they try to tackle aren't that cool. Season 8 was a move in the right direction, but seasons 5 all the way to 7 was just really slop-filled, at least for me. Steven Universe is overrated. I can't really give you a full take on this, but what I can say is that 10 years ago, I watched the very first episode of Steven Universe, and I absolutely despised Steven. I don't care about all the other stuff that goes on in the show. I really don't care. I thought Steven was annoying, so I was like, okay, I'm never watching this. I don't care. I don't want to watch it. And then you have all these people, because I'm a cartoon YouTuber, saying, will you watch Steven Universe? Will you watch it? Will you enjoy it? Please, it's my favorite show. And then I say, well, I didn't really like Steven when I was a kid. I thought he was really annoying. And they say, well, yeah, he's like that for the first season, and then he gets really good. I don't want to watch an entire season of this annoying little brat just berate my screen going, the cookie cats, the ice cream pops, oh, I'm so emotional. I don't want to watch that, and I don't care for it. So I really don't know if Steven Universe is overrated. It might have a really good story. It might have really good character progression. I just don't care because Steven fucking annoyed me. A lot of the Nick shows in the early mid-2010s were overhated. Sanjay and Craig Tough Puppy, breadwinners even. I'd also like to include Fanboy and Chum Chum, even though it got released in 2009. It's also a good thing Nick never picked up Adventure Time. It was not a fumble on their part. They would not be able to handle a show like that back then or now. What are you getting at? Sanjay and Craig, Mr. Stinkmeister, Mr. Gross Out Humor equals funny, teaching kids that, jokes don't need to be set up. Let's just have a fucking dirt-covered, poop-covered baby twerk his ass on $100 bill. Yes, that happens in the show. Let's have a kid get impregnated by a fart and quiver his ass cheeks on a table. Let's have that. That'll be great. Tough Puppy, I just personally think Tough Puppy is annoying. The other people can like it. Breadwinners, again, let's just have a just heinous, gross out humor that doesn't actually do anything interesting the entire time. Let's have that. And then Fanboy and Chum Chum is the same shit. It's not funny. I don't know what's this incessant need that kids are like, oh, well, it's a kid. Like, you don't need to, like, actually try with the comedy. Was it just me who was a 6-year-old and would actually look for setups to jokes, who would love it when, like, they would tell something really unique, when they would do really unique concepts instead of just slop? Like, that's what I prefer. Like, I don't think these shows are overhated. I think they're perfectly hated because compared to everything else, they're just absolute shit. Like, oh man, Fanboy and Chum Chum wasn't that bad. But when you're comparing it to regular show, Adventure Time, Gumball, Spongebob, just any other cartoon that was going on around then, why would you ever choose that? It is perfectly hated when you consider the other masterpieces surrounding it airing around the same time. Not mine. I talked with someone who told me they hate shows like Rick and Morty, Smiling Friends, and BoJack Horseman because they find these shows cringy. Their favorite show is Has Been Hotel. I feel like this is just a entirely rage-based submission. I feel like your friend isn't even real because this is just fucking stupid. I don't understand how you could find shows like Smiling Friends or BoJack cringe when Smiling Friends 1 actually has unique joke and a unique premise every single time. BoJack is just about a depressed horse going through it. Why the long face? Has Been Hotel is literally the equivalent of somebody, like, just sitting in a room writing something, and they write the word fuck, and they're like, ha 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 ha. That's literally 90% of their comedy. The other, like, 10%, like, take Angel, for example. He's literally just a dude who's like, I'm gonna suck your dick. Please suck my cock. Please. Like, I don't understand how you could possibly find these other shows to be cringe when Has Been Hotel is one of the cringiest shows I've ever watched. I recently watched it for the very first time, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but it is very cringy. The original Teen Titans show is the best animated show to exist. I don't know about best when you're talking about like Western animation. I think Avatar: The Last Airbender slightly gets over it, but yes, those are my top 2 animated shows of all time. Avatar: The Last Airbender and Teen Titans. I think it is just a unbelievably well done show. The story, the slice of life episodes in combination with the very serious episodes, the character development, everything about the OG version of Teen Titans is truly one of the greatest animated shows of all time. I agree with you 100%. Animated characters have better acting than live action characters on average. See, I feel like you take some liberties when you say that because obviously when you're an animator, you could sit there and you could make them have the exact emotion that you want. You could spend time on that, creating the perfect scene, creating the perfect lighting, creating the perfect emotion right there on your character. But when you have a live action character, obviously the actor himself has to earn that emotion. But that's why I feel like it's better and more earned just because on average you could have better emotions in animation. I still don't feel like you should discredit live action actors. Take Heath Ledger as Joker, for example. That is my favorite incarnation of Joker. I think it is the best Joker that I've ever seen, and that's because he acted that part so unbelievably well that I think even an animated medium couldn't outdo that, at least in my mind, because of how good he did it, which is why it requires immense praise for when an actor is able to bring a character like that to life in such a unique way, compared to animation, where yes, you could say that there's a really good character, there's a really good voice actor, they did really good, but still, you can't say that it's as amazing as a actor truly getting you to care about that creator. Both are great mediums, both are amazing. I don't really think personally you should compare an animated character to a live action character in the sense of acting because it's both very different, but I get what you're trying to say. Cars 2 is peak and only the first beats it. Do you mean only the first beats it like in animation history? Because I don't know about that. I would never call Cars 2 peak. Do I think it deserves as bad of a rap as people want to give it? No, I think it's a fine movie. I think putting Larry the Cable Guy as Tow Mater and putting him as the main character of a movie is one of the most wild decisions ever, but it still works well, and I think it's a fun movie, especially for kids. I don't really like how they go from cars being racing to randomly making them spy cars, but isn't that what animation is all about? Taking something that you would never like think you could ever see in making something like that, like cars being spies, like cars sneaking onto an oil rig, like a car planting bombs in oil so that he could explode people. It's a very unique and interesting story, and I think it doesn't deserve to be hated. Is it my favorite animated film? No. Does it crack the top 10, top 25, top 50? No. Is it that bad? Again, no. I don't like the art style for Turning Red. For me, it's too in your face, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel vibrant like Inside Out movies. Instead, it just feels like the animation equivalent of jiggling keys in front of your face. I also kind of feel this way about K-pop Demon Hunters, though I'm probably tweaking on that one. I think K-pop Demon Hunters looks pretty good. I think it's a lot more of a smooth animation in a way. It definitely doesn't feel like I'm watching Turning Red or Elio or The Good Dinosaur at that, where the animation just kind of feels annoying. Like, I guess, jingling keys in front of your face. There's just something so much worse about watching those films because, I don't know, it doesn't feel unique in a way, and if it does feel unique, it's for all the wrong reasons. It doesn't feel like I'm watching a Disney movie. Like, I don't know how you can make something like Wreck-It Ralph, where they're all arcade movies, or arcade characters look really good, and then make something about just a natural world, like Turning Red. You give them all these stupid-ass buck teeth, these fat cheeks, and it just looks wrong, and nobody likes that, and everybody's been complaining about it since they first started doing it, and they just don't care. I don't know if it's easier to make movies look like that, or they just love it. I personally think it looks like shit, and I agree with you. K-pop Demon Hunters looks good, though. Johnny Test is overhated. Personally, I think Johnny Test is fine. I liked it a lot more as a kid. When I went back and watched it for the video on my channel, I couldn't help but to hear it now. It's just like a certain age you reach where all of a sudden all you could hear is whoosh, 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 clash, clash. It's like, I don't know, whoever did the sound design on the show was getting paid overtime because there's a different sound effect in every single fucking like motion, every single like conversation. It's just full of sound effects, and as you get older, the more you hear it, it's genuinely kind of like torture. Either way, I still think it's fine, especially if you're growing up and you want to watch some Johnny Test. I think it's fun. I think it's whimsical. I think it's great. Compared to a lot of other cartoons, I think it is decent. So yeah, I would say it's overhated, but I'll never get past those whip noises nowadays. I think fan bases ruin shows more often than the actual show being bad. Fans are usually how people get introduced to a new media because of the negativity surrounding their behavior. And I completely agree with this. Take shows like Hazbin Hotel, Hell of a Boss, which I personally didn't like, but I never wanted to watch those shows because of the obsessive fan base that literally would try to DDoS or attack people just because they dislike the show. And obviously that doesn't speak volumes for everybody in that fan base, but when you just hear that, then you immediately have assumptions about the rest of the fan base. Like, why are they so obsessed with this? Why are they doing this? The Loud House fan base, which has a lot of people who draw loud cest, yes, that freaky nonsense of incest in that family. And does that speak for everybody? No, I'm sure there's people who just like Loud House, but there's just that tiny little knowledge that people do that. It makes you not want to watch that show. So fan bases just completely and utterly influence a lot of people on whether or not they're going to like the show, and leads to a lot of hatred from people who had never seen the show. Kai not being the Green Ninja is the best move. Wow, a Lego Ninjago hot take. Never thought I'd be talking about this. I've always thought people complaining that Kai wasn't the Green Ninja was kind of stupid, because Lloyd is clearly the best character for that to be. His father is literally fucking Garmadon. Why would you not want that awesome story? It's literally the same formula every single time, and the battle between Lloyd and Garmadon sounds way cooler than Kai versus Garmadon because they have no relations in that sense. I don't know, I just think Lloyd being involved in becoming a really good character makes a lot more sense as becoming the Green Ninja. I don't know why people would even want Kai to be it just because he wanted it really bad. Please let me be it, please. I really don't think people need to hate on fandoms as much as they do. Yes, there are bad, weird, crazy, overly obsessed people in every fandom, but the entirety of a fandom isn't made solely of bad people. Live and let live, I say. Well, that just genuinely depends on what the fandom is. Like the Big Mouth fandom, I think you all should rot in hell. I think it's pretty bad. I think that's a horrible show that does horrible things to children, and I will shit on them for that. Obviously, I'm on the boat of just like, if there are overly obsessed people who do very weird things, I'm going to talk about them, but that's why if I'm ever talking about the fandom, I always have in my sentence every single time, I'm sure not everybody is like this, but the people that are like this, you're a little bit wonky, and it's a little bit fucking weird. It's just human behavior to point out when people do stuff that is really, really weird, and in some cases fanbase is very wrong and like unhealthy in a lot of ways. Other people who are just chill and like stuff and don't like shove it down people's throats in really negative ways, you're not going to get talked about. It's those 1%ers who are freaks about everything. Those people will get talked about. So yeah, live and let live, unless it's pretty fucking weird. The wild robot is so overrated. Like, it's not garbage or anything like that, but I honestly can't see the hype behind this movie besides its beautiful looking animation style. I feel like you need to take in consideration what's been coming out lately. Every single animated film feels like it's either, you know, got that shitty ass Pixar animation style where their cheeks are puffed out and everything looks like a gopher, or it's just a sequel. That's all there is. So when the wild robot comes out, which takes a really good book and just perfectly captures every feeling you could have reading that, from the beautiful animation style, from the story, the pacing is incredible. It is a really well-paced movie that gets you truly invested in the robot as a character and all the characters in the story. I think it's beautiful. I think it's what animation is all about, taking something like a book, like a story, and turning it into magic on a screen, and that's what it does. It is overall a very good story with well-told characters, and it's in a era where usually people just try to do money grab shit. DreamWorks just busts out a certified banger, which is what we want. The people who always complain about it always being sequels, let's go back to hand-drawn animation, let's do all this. Somebody just comes out and makes something that is actually just really good, that feels like a passion project, that somebody read this book and wanted to turn it to life, and then you shit on it. Like, I don't think it's overrated. I thought it was a beautiful story. It was very unique. It was nothing like I had ever seen, and especially in this era where we don't really get to see unique new animation like movies, I thought it was great. So there you have it. Those are some of the most controversial animated hot takes that you all had about the world. I know this probably isn't going to be the best edited video, but I think it's a great place to just talk about your thoughts, your opinions, what I agree, what I disagree, and just get some of the things about the animated world that you want to talk about onto a platform so that everybody else can also discuss it with you. It's a lot of fun. So yes, that being said, 500 likes and I will do a part 2 to this, so make sure you put your hot takes down in the comments below so that we can do a part 2 and keep the discussion going. If you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. Uploading every single day. You know the drill. Take care. Goodbye.